Hello, hello. Welcome back to Finding Spirit with Tabs. I'm your host, Tabs McCaffrey, and I'm a developing medium here in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. On this podcast, I share my personal experience as I grow my mediumship abilities and just kind of grow as a medium, also sharing everything else that I learn along the way about spirituality, hopefully encouraging you and helping you to get to know spirit as well. Okay, on today's episode, we are going to go over how I read the energy between mediumship and psychic energy. I just kind of pieced the puzzle pieces together this week. And then we're also going to go over the group reading that I did in December because we haven't chatted in a while. It has been exactly 6 weeks since we have talked last, and over Christmas, I agreed with myself that I was going to take a 2-week break, and this just allowed me to be the most present that I could be for my family and my kids over the Christmas holidays and just put aside all business ventures and all my projects that I have on the go. Now, Christmas was great. It was amazing. I needed that break, and on New Year's Day, I got the phone call that my mom had passed away. Now, my mom had been battling MSA. If you haven't heard of that before, it's multiple system atrophy, and she was diagnosed, I think, about 5 years ago. So it has been a really long battle. It's such an awful disease. If you want, you can look it up, and it's just such an awful disease. Very happy we went down and visited her at Christmas, and I was able to have some really good time with her. But yeah, I didn't know that her time was coming that soon. Now, after that, I obviously took a break, haven't really been back, and really didn't try to connect with spirit at all. I just needed time, and it's understandable, and it's been, I would say, a long 6 weeks since we last chatted. Now, bringing us to present moment, I have a group reading this week on Thursday, and I was kind of pooping my pants last week because I had not connected to spirit since, mid-December. I'm part of an online group where we can volunteer to do practice readings with people, and I thought it would be good to kind of dip my toes just to get a feel for it before going into a group reading with 25 people. In this practice reading, we get partnered with different spiritual workers. They may do Reiki, they may do mediumship, tarot, angel readings. There's so many different modalities that people practice, and I was partnered with someone that does angel channeling and angel readings, which was so beautiful. Oh man, I need to do an episode on just that because I feel like everyone needs to experience those types of readings. But the reading I did was a mediumship one. And part of the reading, I had some psychic information come through, and I've had psychic information come through before. Sometimes it can be tough for me to tell what is spirit message and what is psychic messaging. A lot of times when psychic energy comes through to me, it almost turns into like a verbal diarrhea. Like I start talking a lot faster, my hands start moving. It's just like a really constant flow of talking, where during my readings, it's not like that. It's like ebb and flow when I receive messages, but to me, it almost feels like it's in slow motion. And then when psychic energy comes, it's like in fast forward, if that makes sense. So during this reading, I was connecting with her grandma. We had some really good information come through. And then all of a sudden, there was a point where the information I knew wasn't coming from her grandma. And when I asked her the question, she said yes. And when she spoke to me, it was like the energy got stronger. And right away, I was like, "Are you a water sign?" And she's like, "I'm actually a double water sign." And I was like, "Crazy. Okay." So this was some of the information I was getting through. Now, at that point, I knew that the water sign and there was like a couple other things that were said were not coming from her grandma. And I love these practice readings because this is a chance where I can ask questions and be like, "What do you think? Like, can you help me troubleshoot this?" So when I asked her, she said, "When you are connecting with spirit, where's the energy coming from?" And for me, it is in the upper left-hand corner and it's forward, but it's definitely up. Like when I'm doing a reading, you'll probably notice that I am looking up a lot or I'm looking distance, and that's usually when I'm getting visions or information coming through, but most of the time I am looking that direction. Now, when the psychic information came through, it's almost like it was activated by her voice and her confirmation, and all of a sudden the energy was coming straight at me. It was like it was coming from her. When I think about it, I'm like, okay, I can tell where that energy is coming from. And I've heard other mediums talk about how energy comes from behind them, energy can come from in front of them and the sides and things like that. But I hadn't really been able to differentiate that in my own readings. So the only time I feel like I can tell there's a difference in where the energy is coming is when I have psychic information come through. If you're like me and you don't know the difference between psychic and mediumship, don't worry. Neither did I prior to learning about all of this. So psychic energy is when you read the energy of someone that's present, right? Someone that is alive right now. It's almost like a sensitivity to their own personal energy, and you can read information about them. Mediumship is where you are connecting to an entity or a spirit that has already passed. They are no longer living in the human world, right? So mediumship, past people. Psychic is when it's someone present. And yeah, I always thought psychic was like fortune telling and telling people's future. For the first month or two when I started doing readings, I did not want any psychic information. And I would say that I'm not a psychic. I don't really want to know your future. I don't want to tell you things about your future. But it was funny because little dabbles of it started to come through in my readings. And it's not necessarily future telling, but it's like current event telling and possible outcomes. And they're always very positive, very informative, very uplifting, encouraging, motivational, but definitely different than a spirit message. I started to notice them probably in 1 out of 3 readings. I would get this clump of information that would come through. It would flow pretty quickly and it would have a different feeling to it. So yeah, I now have changed my mind. I've actually changed my titles to psychic medium because I understand what that psychism part is now, and it definitely has a place in a reading, and it can be beneficial, encouraging, and helpful to the person that you're sitting with. So yeah, you can have your spirit and your mediumship, but then it's also nice to have a little bit of that psychic where you read their energy and you're able to provide them some insight into their life or their current situations. That's the best I could describe it, but I just thought it was so crazy how I could tell the direction of the energy. I'd never pieced those pieces together. It was kind of like one of those little aha moments when you like pull the chain on the light and it turns on. So I'm pretty excited. I can't wait to do some more one-on-one readings where I can practice little bits of the psychic and kind of feeling with it. Okay. That was so cool. I had to share that with you guys. If you are working on mediumship or you are curious, I hope this helps and inspires you or maybe gives you some food for thought on your own development. Let's jump into the group reading. So I just want to set out this timeline. If you're new to my podcast, I always recommend go back to episode 1, start there. But did my first reading, I think it was October 16th. And then I set my group reading in mid-December. So within 2 months, I was like, yeah, I can do this. I want to try and do a group reading. It was just having that confidence that spirit was going to be there. Spirit is always going to be there. It's just whether you can connect with spirit. I feel like it would be easier because there would be multiple people with their multiple spirit families, and it would be more of the stronger spirits coming through. I think what I really like about group readings is it's a chance to provide healing and I don't want to say belief, but like spark that belief in people. I will say, I don't know if everyone coming into that group reading 100% believed in it and what was going on. But when you left that group reading, you were like, what just happened? Because there was things that happened in that there was no way I could know that information. It was so crazy to witness. And I think that's what I love about group readings is that people that come there that are like maybe curious or not really sure, maybe they've had bad experiences, and they're able to experience the magic of a group reading. Even though you don't get a message from your loved one, you get to experience the messages that others receive, and it's so heartwarming and just, oh man, it just fills my cup. I'm like getting kind of emotional as we talk about it, but yeah, it's just they're so magical. Okay, so going into this reading, I had accepted 10 people into the group, plus I think one moderator who's my friend Katie. I talked about her and her dad in the reading her and I did a couple episodes ago. Yeah, so I was super, super nervous going in. I felt like it was a lot of pressure on myself, but I mean, it's like self-inflicted pressure, right? Like I'm putting myself in this position, I'm putting myself there. But yeah, I was a little bit nervous going in. Now, to get ready, her and I kind of chitty chatted. I did like a quick meditation, maybe like a 3-minute kind of grounding, find my center, release my thoughts, and we started the Zoom. Instantly, as soon as everyone started joining the Zoom, I could feel a buzz in my room. So this is the best explanation that I could give for a group reading. It's like having a room full of people and everyone is standing shoulder to shoulder. It's almost like they're whispering to each other, but I can't really hear what's being said. So it's like a buzz. And it just feels really crowded in my office, to be honest. It's like a waiting room. And I could just feel like, I could feel my nervous system really kind of lighting up. I would say it almost feels like a panic attack or anxiety. And that's very normal every time I sit down. And when I first connect with spirit, that's how I would describe it. It's almost like a little 5-second panic attack. It's like my nervous system goes whoop and it flips upside down and does like a full 360. And then I'm back on my feet and then information starts flowing. So the first reading was really neat. It was someone that was there and it was her aunt that came through. There was some really specific information. And unfortunately, I do not have permission to share the details from that reading. And I was kind of in a trance at that moment, so I didn't catch her screen name to contact her after. But it was really beautiful. Like I said, there was some details that I would not know at all, and she was able to confirm and validate. The next person, it was her aunt, I think, that came through as well, but an aunt that had raised her, and the characteristics and emotions, it was really odd because I had never experienced this, but I was like, she was a woman that, you know, enforced her rules, and the person that it was her aunt, she agreed. And I kind of thought about it after and I was like, why did that thought come to my head? Now, as a kid, I got a few spanks and it was like an emotion that reminded me of that. So that was really strange. I'd never had that come through in a reading. The messaging was very beautiful and it kind of caught me off guard because the message that came through to me didn't match the personality and characteristics of the spirit. But when I said it to her, so basically she said she was so proud of her and what she had chosen for her path in life. And I was like, I don't know why, but it just seems really odd because this isn't matching with her character that's coming through as spirit. And the person whose loved one this was, she says, no, it makes complete sense to me. And it was so cool because the next day she sent me a screenshot and she's like, I couldn't share this with you in the reading, but she said, I actually received this message from her aunt's daughter, which would be her cousin. She said earlier that day before the reading, and it word for word said, we are so proud of you and what you have done in your life. Like, it was so crazy. And she was like, as soon as you said that, she was like, that's my aunt. She's like, this is so crazy too. She was just blown away because it matched so well. And I love it when people can send me screenshots after or show me messages where, it really just cements what happened in the reading. So that was beautiful. I wish that could have been shared in the group reading because I think the other people would have been like, oh my gosh, that's wild. The next person that came through was a friend, and he was a friend to someone in the group. And I was kind of describing the characteristics and stuff. And I said, this is a male. He's 20 years old. He's really outgoing. He's fun. He would be, did I say, I don't know if I said that, he would be your friend, I think. And I had two people stick up their hands. Now, I was kind of like, okay, I need some more information. So in my head, I go back to spirit. I'm like, okay, can you give me some more information so they will know who you are? Some more validating information. All of a sudden, in my ear, I hear Sam. And it's like a whisper, breathy Sam. That's the best way I can describe it. So I say to the group, I think it's an S name and it's Sam. And the person who it applies to, she sticks up her hand and she says, I know who that is. It's my friend, but Sam is his girlfriend. And when she says Sam is his girlfriend, I hear it clear as day in my ear. He's kind of like laughing when he says it. It's like a chuckle. And he's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, okay, this is odd. So then I repeat that. I said, why did he just say he's sorry when you said that was his girlfriend? And she says, because I didn't like her. Like, her and I weren't friends. And I just kind of laughed because I was like, wow. And she's like, yep, that would be him. That would be his character. And it was so crazy because to get those, the possible connection where two people say this could be someone I know, and for him to say Sam, and she knows as soon as he says Sam that it's him, and then he apologizes to her because he knows that she's not a fan of this person. Anyways, it was so funny. We all kind of had a little chuckle. He had some really encouraging words to say. After I'm able to confirm who the person is, get some characteristics, we've validated the information, I usually go back to the spirit and ask, what is your message? Why are you here today? And what do you want to share with them? And his words were so encouraging. Like, he was just a cheerleader for her. He was so excited for what she was doing. He knew a few things that she had going on. And yeah, he was just so pumped and so proud of her. And I think sometimes those are really meaningful things to hear from people that were your friends and people that are, on your spirit team or are watching people that were in their lives. It's just so cool to hear that. The last story was probably the craziest one. And in it was this girl's dad, and he came through right away. I was like, this is someone's dad, these are his characteristics, and I can't remember all his characteristics because this was almost 6 weeks ago. And she said, yeah, I think this is my dad. And next thing he talks about is fishing, and she's like, that doesn't match. So this is one thing. No mediums are 100% accurate. Like, it doesn't happen. If anyone says they're 100% accurate, they are lying. Even the best mediums aren't 100% accurate. And I always say it's just, I'm a translator and we get messages mixed up, and sometimes it's like trying to communicate at the same level. Now, also in a group reading, I sometimes wonder if, because there's so many spirits around me and there's so much energy around me, maybe that's a message coming from someone else. I'm not really sure. When I figure all that out, I will let you guys know. But yeah, she said no to that. Then I ask him again, okay, show me a memory. And all of a sudden I get this vision, and he is at a party. He's having a good time. It's like dark, but there's lights. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to explain this. Like, it's a party, there's lights. It's like a good time. I can't tell if it's like a birthday party. I don't think it's a Christmas one. Like, there's a lot of fun being had. I asked her, does this make sense to you? And then she replies, yes, it does. So the day before, let's rewind this. That same day, I had 2 cancellations from the group reading, and I threw it out on my Instagram that if anyone wanted to join, they could join. So I had one of the girls in the group message me and say, I have a friend. Do you think she can join? I said, yep, absolutely. Here's the Zoom link. invite her in. Now, that person that was the last minute entry was also this person with the dad. And she said that the day before she received a video, and she said, I received a video of my dad from 20 years ago, and he is dancing at a New Year's Eve party. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And I said, your dad got that video for you. Like, I can feel like he's like, I did that. I got that to her. And she said, well, here's the crazy part. She said, it was sent to me from one of my dad's friend's wives. And she went through like great lengths to get this video to me. So she said she had to go on Facebook. She had to search me up. We also had to figure out how to convert the video to be emailed. Like she said, it was just multiple steps. And the lady just kept saying, I just feel like I have to get this to you. And she had found it, I think, on an old camera, like an old digital camera. And this probably would have been set back, I would say, like 2003, 2002. So you definitely weren't recording on a phone, right? You were using a digital camera with little SD card in it. And yeah, you got to convert those. You got to upload them onto your computer, and then you got to figure out a way to email them. I think this lady just felt really compelled to get the video to her. Now, I could sense that her dad had a role in this, and she was telling us about the video. We were all kind of laughing, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I see what he's showing me. So I said, well, let's just see what your dad has to say. Why is he here today? So I kind of, close my eyes, feel around, and I ask him, what is the message for today? Like, how come you're here today? And he says, I got the damn video to her, or I got the damn video for her. And I was like, and he's saying it with a laugh. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to repeat this, even though it was not, I would never say that to someone. So I tell her, I'm going to say this, please don't take it the wrong way. But he just said, I got the damn video to her. And she replies, what else do I want? And when she says, what else do I want? I can hear him in my ear, and he says, what else does she want? And he kind of says it in like a joking way. So of course I have to tell her what's going on, and she's laughing. She's like, yeah, he would say that. She's like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. So we're all kind of laughing. It's such a moment to witness. Like, it's one thing for me to tell you guys what's happening in these readings, and it's another thing to be sitting on the Zoom and witnessing all this in real time, because it is wild just how quick everything is happening. Now, all jokes aside, I'm like, okay, I get it. You're funny. You're a jokester. But what else do you want to tell her? Why are you here? Let's share whatever she needs to hear today in this moment. And the next thing I see is she's working really hard on books. Like, to me, it almost seems like she's studying, she's doing some post-education. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but you're working really hard on these books in front of you, and you're writing things and you're doing things. And your dad, I can see he's right beside you. Like, he's right there with you. He's so proud of you. He's so excited for what you're doing. And I asked her, does this make sense? Is this something that's going on in your life? And she said, well, I'm not going to school, but my husband and I bought a business, and we've been doing all the book work for the last, we'll say 6 or 8 months. I can't remember the exact numbers. And she said, we just started doing work in the business. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. He's supporting you guys. He's with you. And I was like, he's just like loving this. And she's like, okay, well, I got to share something else. She said, the business is a car wash. And she said, my dad's family owned this car wash when he was younger, or like, back in the day. And I'm like, okay, this is making sense. And I'm like, he's with you guys when you're doing all of this. She said, yeah. She said, I believe it. I feel him. She said, also, we just hung up the family signs. So they had the old family sign, I think, redone or fixed up, and they had hung it back up. And I could just feel the pride coming through him and the love coming through him. And it was just like, he's helping you guys in every way possible that he can from the spirit side. And just, yeah, he couldn't be more happy for you. And honestly, it was so emotional for all of us that were there, because the information that she was sharing and the information he was providing, it was so beautiful. Like, I was trying to hold back tears crying. I saw a couple other people on the Zoom crying. We were just all trying to hold it together, because when you witness these moments of realness and rawness of people sharing their lives and spirit acknowledging or knowing what's going on and continuing to love you and support you and encourage you from the other side, I think it means a lot. And as I say this, I'm like holding back tears because I just think of my own mom and how much I would love to have those messages come through from her. Oh, man. Yeah. It's one thing to do mediumship readings for people, and it's another thing to truly understand the meaning of those readings when they come through. And I think that's what really, I don't want to say drives me to mediumship, but maybe what pulls me in so much. When you lose someone, it's that desire to hear from them again and to know that they still love you and follow you in your life. Okay. I think I need to stop talking about this for today. Little too soon for me. So yeah, it was a beautiful reading. And even as I talk about these readings on the podcast, there's so many details that are not shared, either for personal reasons or I just can't remember them, to be honest. It's almost like my brain is like over here, and I've said this, like, Tabs, she ain't here. And I don't feel like I absorb everything, and that's probably a good thing, because I don't want to carry all the emotions and messages from the readings in my day-to-day life. But yeah, that night in that group reading, moments happen that I will never forget. I will hold them with me forever, and they really gave me a lot to think about over Christmas, and I would say provided me a lot of love and support as well. And in some ways, mediumship and everything I've learned about spirituality, I think has also helped me get through losing my mom. And that's kind of a tough thing to talk about, because I don't want to say it makes it okay, but I feel like I understand things a little bit differently. And even though I said goodbye to my mom right now, and I feel like I'm going to cry a little, it's just goodbye for right now. I know I'm going to talk to her in the future, and I know she's going to pop up around me, and I'm going to get all the magical moments that people talk about in the readings that I do. And I just can't wait for that as well. So on that note, as I try and pull myself together, I'm going to let you guys go for this week, and we'll be back next week with some new topics and another reading to share. Actually, I'll probably have another group reading to share, because I have one coming up this week. So there should be some new stories. I have so many past stories. I have little nuggets of stuff I need to share still, and I'm really excited to kick this off in 2024. So if you are not subscribed to my podcast, please make sure you hit subscribe. I would also love to hear what your thoughts are on psychic versus mediumship, or if you want to add some thoughts about the group reading. Let's interact. If you drop down below, you should be able to put any of your thoughts, and I will post them so that everyone can see, because I just think it's so beautiful when we can share our thoughts together. I cannot reply down there, but please know I am smiling ear to ear every time I read one of your comments. All right, I'm going to head out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode, and I will see you next time on Finding Spirit with Tabs. Bye.